What's up, you guys? You are listening to HVAC Masters of the Hustle podcast. And here's your host, 118. First off, I want to say thank you for everyone that reaches out every week and truly tells me how this podcast brings you and your company to that next level, right? Because that's what we're about. We're about climbing this mountain together and getting to the top together as a team. And for all you new listeners out there, make sure you smash the subscribe button because, like I said, this podcast is helping thousands and thousands and thousands of people get to that next level in our industry. And for those of you that don't know, I am throwing a huge event November 11th and 12th in Vacaville, California. This is an event that you guys don't want to miss. It is going to be sold out. I got the legend Weldon Long going to be joining on stage as well, helping you guys get to that next level. And man, do we have a great episode on the podcast for you guys today. Let's go ahead and welcome. He's been on the podcast before, so if you guys want to see his story, episode 79, let's go ahead and welcome the Bill Kean into the hot seat, the GM of Next Gen in SoCal. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Oh, I can't complain, man. I'm trying to live the best life every day, always being positive.
I hear you.
So let me ask you, the last episode we talked about how you got into the industry. You just came over to Next Gen and really accelerated to the next level. And now you're running the company as the general manager. So talk about your progression from the last time we talked, about 6 months ago to today.
Yeah. So, I had my own company prior to this and had a, separation from my partner. And when I came over here, I knew that I wanted to just sell. That's kind of my passion. It's what I love doing. And Ish provided me that option. And I think honestly behind the scenes, he knew what he wanted to do with me. I wasn't in the mood to manage. I wasn't in the mood to be having sort of responsibility. And so it was pretty quick. I went out and hustled and grinded for, probably 3 months as a sales guy, and then just started doing sales trainings. And then quickly took over the service department, and then recently became the GM. So it was, nothing here at Next Gen happens slowly.
Yeah. Right. Well, congratulations on that. That's a huge step right there. You really dedicated yourself to get to that next level. I see you on social media, all your positive posts. You're all about bringing your team up to that next level all the time. And one thing I want to talk about on this podcast is, we're not entering, we are in summer, right? So across the nation, summer's here, right? It's hot. So with you being the GM, how do you hold yourself accountable? And then how do you hold your team accountable? Because how many guys are you managing right now as the GM?
We're at 268 employees.
Ooh, 268 employees. So, you have your head wrapped around a lot of things, right, going on.
Yeah, it's really important to have a strong management team. I would be nothing without all of the service managers, field supervisors, office managers, purchasing managers. Each one of our management team has really good control over their departments.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's like I just go department to department, and my team's so strong that we just make small corrections.
Mm-hmm.
It's been all day long of putting out these little tiny fires, and every once in a while you got to remind guys like, hey guys, this is the process. Let's go back here. But it's a machine here for sure.
Oh yeah. The way that you guys operate and everything like that, you have your numbers in front of everything, right? So that's a good way to hold your team accountable as well as keeping those numbers in front of you. Can you talk about how often you go through your team numbers with your team to hold them accountable and how often you go through those goals?
So, we've got Data Cube here. And so it's real-time tracking of every KPI. And I have real-time tracking of everything. So if we walk into a service manager office, up on our service manager's wall, there's a large TV, and it's constant KPI tracking of every single one of his techs. I've got conversion ratio, IAQ sales, turnover revenue, service revenue, total revenue, average ticket. So when we're making decisions, we're not making decisions on data that's a week or a day or even a month old. We're making decisions on data that's 30 seconds old. If
Absolutely.
I go into installation department, same thing. They have the performance of every single one of their install teams. We even have our CSRs. I know how many calls they're receiving, how many calls they're making, how many are being booked, So everyone kind of lives and breathes and dies by the data cube, and it's up. If you've ever been to our shop, it's everywhere. I mean, every single office has it up in the cube and in where all our CSRs are. There's a big tower, and it has TVs all around it, so you can't. And it's you've got a number one spot. Everyone's ranked, and that really drives a friendly competition.
Absolutely.
It drives them to say, I want to be like that guy. What's he doing? And so that's the best thing is we're not relying on reports that are made. It's there. It's visual. Everyone sees it. We have nothing to hide.
And that's what I really like about you guys, because, talking about me as a comfort advisor back in the day, working with Bell Brothers and some of the other companies that I worked with, that's what I really liked, was when they put the numbers in front of you and you guys could see it every day. Like you said, it creates that competitiveness, right? Where you go into the office to turn in some packets and you're like, oh man, I dropped to number 2. Oh, how do I get to that? And then all of a sudden you see, I'm sure you guys do text message threads as well when someone happily involves a homeowner. And all of a sudden you look at that and you talk about that culture, really getting that competitiveness out of people as well.
Right.
As you've been a comfort advisor, being on the top over there at Next Gen.
Yeah, we're very active in celebrating our wins, and we celebrate them as a team.
It's so important.
Yeah, like the Service Titan alerts, you would think it's annoying to know every single time an invoice is written. For me, every time my phone goes off, I look at it and I'm excited. I can't wait to shout out the brand new tech who just sold his first IAQ product, or the guy who just did his first $1,000 sale. Sales guys like, hey, it's 10 grand going in today. That's amazing. It creates excitement, and you're having all this data kind of thrown at you. And it's what you do with it. We celebrate it. I'll get excited and I'll shout someone out in one of our group chats. And then the service manager or the sales manager will text me. They're like, dude, that was mine. Like, what are you doing? I just get excited. I'm like, our team's excelling. And I remember when I was in the PM side of this, here, if you're kind of feeling down and you're like, man, oh, so-and-so just sold 20 grand. Oh, so-and-so just dropped 30 grand. Like so-and-so, you get that motivation. You're like, I don't want to be the only guy not on the board today.
Exactly. So
it drives that hustle. And we do it for every department has that. We'll send the CSRs out like, hey, great job. You hit your goal today. Like sales guys get shouted out, techs get shouted out, installers get shouted out, because that's what creates that excitement in that team here.
Absolutely. And one thing I want to talk about is, now that we're in summer, everything, it's go time, right? So how many installs are you guys doing per day, on average right now in summer?
So we are running about 40 to 50 a day right now, with the capability to run about 80.
Wow. That's
like
powerful.
Yeah, like I got here this morning to meet with the installers. I actually meet with them every morning. So I come in at 7, between 6:30 and 7. I meet with the installers. I meet with the install managers, and then it's all hands on deck to get our team out. So we get about 28 teams out within 30 to 40 minutes most. And so from them showing up.
How do you do that so efficiency?
So a lot of it is we do prep work. We just built in fact, like where my office is now is an expansion, and we have a whole staging area. All the jobs that are being sold, like say for example today, are getting staged in our staging area. The product's pulled, the bundles are pulled, and everything's marked. So when the installers come back tonight, the night crew will clean their vans out, get everything ready to go, clean the vans, stock the vans, and then in the morning crew will come in, put the equipment in the van. So when the installers come in, all they need to do is show up. If they're missing a few items that they need for the job, they stop at our VMI, get the stuff, and they're out.
Absolutely.
So,
And that right there limits so many callbacks, red tags, going off the job to go get parts and stuff like that. I preach about, passing the baton off from dispatch to technician to comfort advisor to install, right? And I'm telling you guys, that's how you have to do it right there. Is you have to have bay set up, bay 1, bay 2, bay 3, all whatever, bay 50, right? Because that's how many installs you're running. So imagine all these different bay setup. All your install guy has to do when he gets there is take everything, all the parts, all the materials, everything like that, and everything's already staged for him. He puts that in his truck, right? And then prior, when they get there the night before, they do a pull sheet of everything they used on the job prior. So then when they get there in the morning, that morning crew restocks their truck on the pull sheet. And it's just a continuous cycle. It's a beast, right? Everyone is to help everyone.
Mm-hmm. Everyone here has their job. You know exactly what your job is, what your responsibilities are, and you do it. It's everyone from the drivers to the night crew. They know exactly what's expected of them, and it's done. And if it's a failure, we know exactly who to go to and how to correct the failures.
Absolutely, right. As we continue to talk about installs and everything like that, how did you get your install team ready for summer? Because you talk about hot addicts and everything like that, teaching these guys that, staying hydrated and all this stuff. How do you get their mindset preparated? Because when I installed I always called first week of summer hell week, right? That's when your guys are getting thrown up on the side of the house, everything like that.
So our guys are pretty. I mean, the beauty of where we're at now is the talent does come to us. We have really experienced installers. We have really experienced sales guys and technicians. And so the only thing we do is I start training for summer. We started prepping in January. Hey guys, here's what's going to happen. We do a countdown almost. We've got 90, and then we train on everything. Like, let's start doing this. We're going to prep for this. Let's get used to doing this. Let's get used to coming in at 6 a.m. And then it's okay. Now we're 60 days out. Let's start doing this. Let's do van checks. Let's get maintenance wise, and then we get to 30 days. And it's you kind of do a countdown so everyone's ready. And the weird part is it hit a little late this year here.
Mm-hmm.
So D-Day came and everyone's like, okay, so we're prepped to go 6 days a week. We're prepped to go 12 hours today. It's 74 degrees, and so we just started. We would prep things. We would kind of do dry runs. Hey guys, I'm going to stack 20 jobs. Let's see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So then at that point we got to kind of practice it. But for me, I'm really big on finding the flaws and then fixing those flaws.
Absolutely.
And then it's go time. I mean, it hit last week and we knew it was coming. And so far it's been relatively uneventful. I thought I would have less hair after this week, and I'm really proud of what the team did. We had minimal. It's California, where we're at in South Orange County. If it's 90 degrees for 3 days in a row, all hell breaks loose. Yeah, and outside of our call center, which is just completely overwhelmed with incoming calls, every department performed flawlessly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And that's the importance of keeping up on your training and everything and teaching your team how to pass that baton off and the transition and everything like that. Talking about doing 40 to 50, they're capable of doing 80 installs per day. I know around the nation, a lot of people or a lot of companies are seeing shortages on systems and everything like that. Has that really impacted you guys at all, or?
No, sadly, I'm going to say no. I love being in a position where I have the ability to go to our vendors and say, you're not going to let me run out of product. And it's been another thing. I knew it was coming. The industry knew it was coming. And so we've set things up where we're seeing price increases. I mean, ductwork is absolutely insane right now. It's up like 300%. But we've secured enough ducting to get us through the next 3 months. It's expensive, so our pricings will reflect it.
Yep.
Our relationship with our, we just had a real come to Jesus. You're not going to let this happen. We've forecasted everything we did last year, what we're pacing at this year, and we've got the equipment in stock to do that. So we've kind of set up our reserves to get us through the summer. We know that by the end, third quarter, fourth quarter, it's going to be back to normal. So we've kind of piled everything going into this. I feel bad. I truly do feel bad for the guys that weren't big enough to do this or that didn't have the foresight, because at this point I just read a letter from Lennox that unless you're a specific type of vendor and this and that, you're not getting anything from it. And then it's like, and if you are this level of vendor, you're not even going to get what you want. And I have everything in stock. Like we just walked the warehouse this morning, and package units were light. So I wanted to see and put my hands on them. And I'm like, this is crazy. Like there's guys that they can't do a duct job because they don't have the ducting. And I'm walking past 6,000 bales of ducting, this summer is going to be really odd because I think you're going to see these guys that didn't plan and aren't prepped and aren't maybe experienced. They're going to fail.
Absolutely. And that was my next point is, because you guys set yourself up for preparation and went to your vendors and everything like that. I mean, here's the thing is, right now it's either sink or swim, right? So all these smaller companies that are, I hate to say it, but these are the guys that are your $4, $5, $6, $7,000 installs, right? These are the guys that we need to take out of the industry because they're the ones giving us the bad name, I feel like. So, and again, this is, your Uncle Buck in his truck that's just going straight to a manufacturer and just buying a system because they're selling it to him, right? So, this is definitely going to separate the big dogs from the boys, right?
Right. I had a story yesterday working with one of my sales guys, and he calls me and we're bidding a duct job and we quote our price, and this other company's out and they're quoting half. And I'm telling my sales guy, I'm like, we're not known to walk away from a project. I mean, it's just something it's not in our culture to do here, but away from this one. And I said, we have to hold the line. I have to protect the customer that actually values us. I have to protect it so that I have the ductwork for him. Sales guy, obviously sales guys are pissed off that I'm not going to let him do it. And he leaves and he calls me back about 2 hours later and he goes, the guy just called me, signed the contract at our pricing. Come to find out, the company that was doing it for half told them, we're going to do it for half when we have the ductwork in stock. And they said 6 months. So these companies some of these guys are actually, I would say they're smart. They're actually collecting deposits on jobs to lock them down and for stuff that they're going to do in 6 months. I'm sitting here, I'm expensive. There's a reason people spend more money with me. And here's the reason. They're doing the job today. So that customer's going to have there for the summer. They don't have to wait till next year.
Well, and then also with the price increases of ductwork and everything like that, first off, as a comfort advisor, you have to have confidence in order to upsell something when we were selling it for 300% less last year, right? And now all of a sudden we're selling ductwork from maybe, 6,000. Now we're at 12, maybe 13,000 for duct runs now. So you have to actually have that team, that sales team that feel confident. Hey, we're going to still go in those houses and we understand that there's a shortage out there, supply and demand, and we're okay with that. For me, it's an increase of my salary, not salary, but income.
Yeah. I tell my sales guys, I'm like, every time we see a price increase, they drop their shoulders and, oh man, I'm like, guys, I just gave you another raise. What are you complaining about? And they're like, oh, it's harder to sell. I'm like, You guys are the best sales team in the country, hands down. You're going to complain over a little price increase? You can't sell
Yeah.
around that?
Yeah.
And I'm like,
And the crazy thing is, I get the opportunity, as I get to travel the nation, and everything. And, I don't even look at the company's pricing when I go out there. Like when I do ride alongs and everything, I just take whatever I'm selling here in California. Cause I know everyone goes, oh, you're from California. That's why you're so expensive. Right. And I'm like, all right, cool. I want to ride with that guy. Right. And then I get out there, I'm just like, yeah, I don't even need to know your price. I'll just roll mine. I'm going to show you that when you create a lot of value, you show the owner that you're trustworthy and that you know what you're talking about, and you educate them. There's no reason why cost should be a problem. I mean, unless you're, extremely, extremely way overboard, right? But if it's a couple, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, I could do a $6,000 gap easy and still take the order.
That's one of the things. So in my previous life, I was the most expensive contractor, and I knew it. So I learned from entering the industry how to be the most expensive guy in the house and be proud of that fact. And we've done that. We're not the cheap guys anymore. And so when our team walks in the house, I've just been driving and driving and driving into them. Guys, this is how we sell. This, people buy from people they like. People will spend more money, but from someone who's not their friend. And if you're not going to make a friend in the house, you don't deserve to ask them for their business or their money. And it took a little, you always get pushback when you make changes. And now I've got PMs are coming in. I mean, even this morning, I've got guys who we could not get them to a 10 a.m. call. It was like pulling teeth, too early in the morning. I've got a handful of PMs here they were here this morning at 6:30, sitting at one table, role playing, planning out their days, rehashing all their old, quotes, and just working together. And I'm like, man, what are you guys doing? You're here at 6:30 in the morning? Yep. And they go, since we've come in the morning and we do the role playing and we do the follow-ups like you taught us, these guys are, one of the guys he's done $100,000 the last 3 days in a row. In his one goal, he goes, I want to do $1 million a month. And I'm like, fuck, $1 million a month. You're going to do $1 million a day. Like, like, we're do
think big.
And
That's what I'm saying is think big. No one knew that you could run a 4-minute mile until it was possible.
Right. And he's sitting there and goes, man, all I have to do $1 million a month is I got to do 50,000 a day. And I'm like, yep. And so I've been working with him, driving him to do that month. And he came in this morning. He's like, Bill, I now only have to do 30,000 a day to do $1 million a month. And I said, I know. And he goes, I actually have like a $40,000 cushion. Yep. And now don't think that way, because you're going to have one bad day.
Yeah.
And he's driving. I mean, it's crazy. Like when you kind of change that mindset, you and I sell very similar. And, everyone's like, what do you do? What do you do in the house? I'm like, you can tag along with me. And I go, you're going to be underwhelmed. What I do is not magical. It's like, but I'll spend 99% of my time building a relationship and a true friendship with that guy, and 1% of my time actually selling them. And so I'm like, but if you don't call your customer back, if you don't text them within, the next day, if you don't do this, they're never going to buy from you.
Yeah.
Call them when you get to the house. All the simple stuff that like you teach is just basic. And it baffles me that guys don't do that.
Well, when I found out that 80% of people, once they walk outside of a door, they don't follow up, that gives you 80% chance more than the other 3 guys of getting that job. Yeah. They have 3 guys. You're the only one that's probably going to be following up. I promise.
Yeah. I tell my guys, I'm like, all we have to do is not be the other 3 guys.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the only thing we do. I go, I'm like, I go, guys, there's a sales process and there's things that are taught. And I go, the thing is, if you we know who we're competing against. We can pick the 5 contractors that we're going to compete against. Yep. Their sales, half of you work for them. I go, so if we run our call this way, we're going to sound exactly like those guys, right? Yeah. Then what's the difference? Price? Yeah. Let's be different. We are next gen. We are different. Like, there's no one in the industry that looks at next gen and goes, oh no, they do everything the same. Everyone wants to know what we do.
Yeah.
You
guys are the fastest growing company in probably the nation. Within 3 years, you went to what, 50 mil almost?
We're trending at 60 right now.
I mean, that's completely, I mean, unheard of. And that's why Izzy is getting all this credit, which he deserves, is because he's done he's ran the 4-minute mile, right?
Yeah.
He's showing what's possible, and there's people across the nation that's wanting that information. They're driving across the nation and doing visits at your guys' company.
I mean, it's crazy. I'll show up to work and there'll be people standing outside our office. I'm like, what are you doing here? Oh, no, we're just here. Oh, okay. Where are you guys from? Baltimore. Holy shit.
Right.
Yeah. And they're like, they come here and they're like, oh my God. And then I'm like, just follow me around. And what we do is I'm like, hey, follow me around for a little bit. I'll show you what I do. And then we kind of dive into their business and where they're struggling. It's like, oh, so you have a problem with service? Come sit with my service. Just sit with my service manager for the next 4 hours. Trust me. And then they always leave and they're like, I'm like, so to help? And they go, we have so much to do. I'm like, but what changed? They're like, nothing. It's just the things we weren't doing. I'm like, oh yeah, stick to the process. It's like, but it's things like you said earlier, follow up. I demand follow up. We have a full-time rehasher. That's all his job is. He goes through pending quotes. He does about 400 phone calls a day and just touches base with my customers. His job is to make sure that my customers are happy.
That's smart.
Yeah. Hey, I got this sales guy came out. We did this whole thing. I never got the quote. I never heard from him again. That's a coaching moment for our team.
Absolutely. And we have to coach these guys, right? We can't, just because they're technicians or comfort advisors or installers, right? And you might be in a different role of, we have to just make sure that, everyone is coachable. Everyone's a student, right? And we have to deliver that mindset that, if they're not coachable, they don't think they're coachable, they might not be in the right fit for the right culture.
Everyone here is a student. You can walk. I mean, even Ish himself, he'll sit there and say, I just sit there and I watch what other people do. I listen to what, even my management team. I mean, I've listened to multiple podcasts of him. He's amazing because he takes no credit. He gives all the credit to his team. And when you really look at it, that's the truth. We've built something here that's special, and we all we got to follow that direction, and you've got to learn from everyone. I can say, hey guys, this is the way we're going to do this going forward. And if someone gives me input that maybe isn't, what I want, I owe them to listen to it, because they might see something. And it's really important to learn how things work. That's kind of why, like, for me, I'm involved, and I sit with every single manager of every department every single day. And I'll just sit there and shoot the shit. I'll sit with them for an hour or so, if needed, and just learn what they're doing and learn, mostly ask them, like, what are you struggling with today?
Yeah.
Personal, professional, whatever it is, tell me what gives you a hard time about being here. And then I know my job is to go fix those for them.
Absolutely. Moving forward and going towards the end of the episode, what is your goal for yourself and your team, in the next 3 months of summer?
So our goal is we want to do a $10 million month. We want to see $1 million day. We want to see $1 million salesperson, and I want to see a $500,000 tech.
Ooh, I love it, man. This is what I'm talking about, you guys. 10x your business. This is how you guys get to the next level right here. Next Gen is a perfect example of that 4-minute mile that everyone thought was impossible until it was done, right? So, based off this episode, I got listeners from business owners, dispatchers, installers, comfort advisors. What would you like for them to get out of this episode, Bill? Because, you're an absolute beast. You've climbed the ladder to get where you are today. And, kudos to you, man.
Thank you. For me, it's I've learned, I've been humbled by this trade a lot. I've learned a lot, and I would say it's, I'm coming up on Wednesday will be my 1-year anniversary here at Next Gen. And I've learned more in this year, and I've achieved more in this year than I feel like I've done in the entire time I've been in this trade. It's crazy. But one thing that I've had to do is I look back, and I am my biggest critic. And I sit back, I know I'm good at this, but I can be better than this. And next gen's proved that. What used to be amazing in the industry, next gen smashed all that. Growth, operations, data capture, like all this stuff that didn't exist 5 years ago is now what everyone's running for. And the only reason being is we know that we can be better. We don't, me personally, I know I can be better every day. I drive into my team 1% better every day. So we'll sit there and like, we're coming out of our first heat wave. I'm going to have my manager meeting next week. Only thing we're going to do is just look at any hiccups that we had this last week. I know we did great. We killed it. We smashed records. We had 2 back-to-back, the largest days we've ever had as a company, back-to-back in this little heat wave we had. We killed it. Our install teams got everything done. Our warranties were minimal. Like, all that was amazing. But we all know we can get just a little bit better. And in order to meet those goals, we know we have to be perfect. I mean, you can't hit stuff like that and be mistaken and have little. So it's really just look at yourself and see what, even if you think you're good, you can always tweak and tune it and make it better and better.
Absolutely. And, real quick, I want you to go ahead and plug, I got 10,000 listeners per episode. So I know you guys are hiring and everything like that throughout the year. Maybe someone's listening to the podcast and they're like, you know what, who is Next Gen? I want to talk to them. I want to go work for them. How do they reach out to you guys?
They can either reach us through our website. They can email. They can walk right up in the door. I have yet to not hire a guy who had the guts to walk into my office and ask for a job. It shows me a lot. Even if they're not the best technician, I can make a technician. But you can't teach work ethic. You can't teach hustle and grind.
Absolutely.
We have basically instituted, we are nonstop hiring. And that has assembled us. Fortunately for me, there's a lot of competitors who are not treating their employees well, and they're coming to my shop in floods. I mean, I think we just hired like 10 people from a local competitor who was not teaching, not paying their guys, doing stupid shit like right before summer, holding paychecks back or trying to screw them on commissions. I'm like, thank you, because I will never be overstaffed. All Ish has to do is turn up the marketing.
Yep.
We'll get the phone to ring and I'll get calls on the board. And so if you're looking to come and make some real money and run some calls, that's what I did a year ago. I needed to make some money quick and fast, and I knew Ish was the only one who could give me the leads. And
awesome.
I did my first $1 million quarter this year right before I got promoted to GM. And that was I was trending for a $5 million year as a service manager. So it was I kind of regret hitting that goal, but I love the position I'm in now.
Absolutely, man. Well, thank you for being a guest in the hot seat. I mean, we're out here Saturday grinding away, man. And it's always an honor, and I can't wait to get you back in the hot seat.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
All right, brother. Take care. Have a blessed day.
You too. Bye.